All right. Here we are. Chaos Conversation. One guest we're going to bring to your attention, but also here on Wonderful Wednesday. That's what it is. Wonderful Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and find some more topics and to have no other way to put it to y'all on how to keep it real because this young lady is the best example I can give for all y'all who be stopping me in the street, be stopping me, messaging me, calling me, texting me. This is the best person I could find to answer all y'all questions. And this is speaking from experience now, okay? And also, if you guys get a chance, just like, subscribe, comment, and feel free to share. But in the meantime, Miss Tabitha Coleman, let them know who you are, what you do, man, and how you can help them.
Oh, well, hello, everyone. I'm Tabitha Coleman, as he mentioned. I currently, as employment, I work for a large insurance company as well as a large pharmaceutical international company. That's what I do for my trade. But my job title day to day is mother um, and provider. So,
There you go. See, and you guys are always wondering how I can speak on stuff because I mean, I'm not a dad yet. You know what I mean? So I had to go out and again find one that can answer a lot of your questions because I don't know how to say. Can you explain to them how the average way of going to school, getting a good job, getting good benefits, then getting married is not the way everybody has to live? But can you explain to them how it's worked for you as far as raising a family, having a family?
okay. So just a little bit of background because I know a lot of times people have preconceived notions of people's
Mm-hmm.
situations. For example, if a woman's over 35 and she has no kids, what's wrong with her? Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't anybody marry her? Things of that nature. So
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit of background about myself. I graduated one of the first graduating classes from Southeast Raleigh High School. I went to all magnet schools throughout my education. After that, I went on to acquire 3 degrees. I have 3 separate degrees, so I'm very highly educated, all of which are in very good industries to produce sizable incomes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Let them know. Tell them.
I also, I also, as a hobby, managed a couple nightclubs in my 20s. So I've been there, done that. I used to joke around and say I was a city girl before city girls even had a name. I was getting flued out before flued out was even a thing. Um, but that was because I made a conscious decision to enjoy my 20s, to not get caught up in the traditional aspect of what a life is. Now, keep in mind, I'm born and bred in North Carolina, so I did grow up with strong Christian values, strong Southern hospitality and values as well. But through my experience, and I can only speak on my experience, and to each his own.
Yep.
Um, I'm a free spirit first. I'm a logical thinker second,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm resolution based third. And that's how I approach every single thing in life, personal, uh, with my associates, as well when it comes to business in all aspects. I am a believer. I'm a very spiritual and religious person because, see, a lot of times people think you have to be one particular way. But see, in this journey called life, you have the ability to create your own destiny.
Break
There's
that down for
truth and there's some value in everything that
them.
comes your way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew, huh? Go
I,
ahead.
I I mean to interrupt you, but can you break that down for some of the ladies and gentlemen? Because a lot of them believe, if you're not a Christian or if you're not led by Christ, you can't lead a household and that kind of stuff. Can you give them a breakdown of how that of your point of view on that?
Um, Again, as a free spirit and free thinker, again, I'm also going to be very subjective in the aspect that there's certain things that I'm still going to hold very close to breast because I don't believe in giving everybody my business. Now, Bruce, I am a very private person at the end of the day. And I
Yeah.
need everybody to understand Bruce has been at me now for over 10 years to hop on one of his podcasts. But
Hey.
because I'm in a spirit and in a journey of doing things differently as I move forward through the end of this year and going on into the rest of my journey of this thing called life, he
Mm-hmm.
caught me on a good day. And so that's why I'm here before you.
Okay.
But to answer your question, Bruce, yes, faith in God should be the head of any situation because without God, nothing is possible. However, how do you differentiate what God is? To a
Mhm.
Christian, God is going to be God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. To
Mhm.
a Buddhist, God is going to be Buddha. To a Muslim, God is going to be Allah. To an atheist, God is going to be the earth, the stone outside of their front porch or their tree. At the
Nate,
end of the day, if we are going to be of Christian value, because I do understand that a lot of your population is Christian, we fail to abide by the rules based on how they're written. And I don't mean all the way into the extent of and or period dot.
Mhm.
You don't judge other people. So if a person's beliefs, their values, and their moral compass is slightly different from yours, that does not mean that they're living in a way that is wrong. That means that they're living in a way that fits them, because at the end of the day, once we all go before the golden gates, we have to answer and atone for our actions while we're here on earth.
There you go.
So who's to say that once you get up there, because you chose to be a certain way, that you weren't judgmental?
There you
At the
go.
end of the day, we all know what's right and wrong.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, what you dive into, whatever faith that you seem to follow, whatever doctrine that you think works for you, works for you. There's not just the religious aspect, it's the cultural aspect. And I
Yep.
think another thing that Bruce wanted me to speak on is because when it comes to my family, not the family that I was born from, but the family that I have that's mine based on my offspring and those extensions with it, are very eclectic, because there's multiple cultural aspects that go into the creation of what my family is, not just a religious one as well. So people have to also take in consideration, when you are speaking on what makes a family, how those different aspects can affect how it's built, the foundation that it's on, and how people, go about what makes them happy and their family, and then their family life.
And you know what? Before you go any further, here's just one thing I have to do, man. Because half of what you said, I've been trying to tell the people, and all I keep getting back in return when I said some of the things, some of the main things you just said was, well, I'm not a parent yet, so how can I say? Well, I don't have a family. Well, I don't have a, a family of my own yet, so how can I say? And if I mean,
Mm.
a lot of things you just touched on are things I've been saying forever. So I can't do anything but applaud you for that, because
So
it's
let me speak on that in particular,
yeah,
because as a woman, we are given the opportunity to actually breed and grow life and bring life. Everything on earth comes from a woman, even the seeds that germinate outside in the grass. It is a mother nature who
yep,
helps to germinate and grow that and multiply that. So prior to becoming a mother, there were several situations and conversations that I was in part of, where I was told, until you become a mom, you'll never understand.
yep,
Until you become a mom, you don't know how to raise a child. But does physically giving offspring equate you to be a mother?
good question.
Does physically giving off offspring equate you to be a parent?
Mhm.
See, sometimes, and this is where I think you and I align, that a lot of people fail to realize, is when you're a open-minded person, you have to see it from every single standpoint
Mhm. That's
before you
true.
can move forward in how you speak. For
True.
example, if your God child lost his parents today,
Mhm.
your responsibility as a godfather is to do what?
Take him in.
Become the parent,
Take him in.
right?
Yep.
So you take them in and you begin to raise this child. You begin to nurture this child. You begin to teach this child things for them to go off into the world and be, hopefully, a good citizen,
Yep.
and be fruitful and multiply in their own aspect, not just in the physical sense of having children, but being fruitful in the knowledge he gives and multiply that amongst the community that he touches, or the organizations that he builds, or whatever his brainchild is at that moment in time.
Yep.
But you have to learn to be a parent, right?
Mhm.
So it's not always, or say, for example, if you are a woman who cannot give birth to a child, you just physically cannot do it. If you adopt a child, does that not make you a parent?
Yep.
So sometimes when I had those conversations with people, a lot of times people will make that just based off of what they see, not knowing what your background is. Now, prior to me becoming a mother, I was a stepmother several times. Not
Oh,
only that, I helped to raise a host of nieces and nephews in my house where I was the one who got them up, prepared them for the day. If
so you
their
got,
boo boos were scraped, I had to take care of that.
so you got
Nurturing,
practicing, huh?
yeah, practicing,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it also didn't happen with just an actual child. There's been adults that I had to take under my wing
I know.
and raise.
I know what you
You
mean.
get what
Like,
I'm saying?
yeah.
So just to come off the cuff and say, oh, just because you don't have a physical child doesn't mean that you don't know or you don't have an idea. I think a lot of times we dilute other people's experiences based on the fact of our own insecurities to make ourselves feel better about what we're going through, or we're projecting our own insecurities on each other.
Yep.
Now, to speak on it as a mother who has physically given birth to an offspring, I still hold the same values and same truths. Now, there's certain things that you cannot understand as a parent until you have actually experienced it. So, for example, I can never tell another woman about how to raise a child, or or even closer, I can never tell another woman what it's like to actually give birth naturally through my vaginal canal,
Hmm.
because at the time of my delivery, my
Yeah.
daughter decided to turn around and become breached. So I had to have an emergency C-section. Does that make me any less of a woman to know what it's like to raise a child? Does that mean that my ability to give birth is any less than a woman who was able to give it vaginally? No. Our experience is different.
There you go.
How our journey and the road it took us on is different. But that doesn't mean that what knowledge we've gained is any less than the other.
There you go. And see that, there's only one other classmate. I'm not going to mention the name of her, respect to her and her husband, but they told me when they had to go through that, there are a lot of challenges that even take
Mhm.
place in that. And at the same time, when the woman, because the woman is the one who brings us here, she's the one who has to go through the pain and so forth and so on to bring a child here. And the at times like that, what did that tell you, even from your man, or your daughter's father? What did it show you during the difficult times you went through? Because a lot of people tell me, "Hey, I haven't been there. I haven't done that for a woman yet. I haven't been there for a woman, so she can't tell how deep I love her. She can't tell." But I'm like, there are many other ways to tell how much a man or woman loves you. But what does it show you? Give the
Um,
audience your experience, what you got from that, being there.
um, we both go through the same series of emotions, just in a different way. I physically carried the child, but he
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally carried the child as well. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? He had to bond with me as well as we went through it. Our experience was also unique because I was pregnant during COVID.
Mm.
So every doctor's visit and everything else, he could not be present for. I had to be by myself. He did not hear his daughter's heartbeat for the first time in person until we got ready to get rolled back to for my cesarean.
Okay.
Um, because once my water broke and we got to the hospital, he had to sit outside in the waiting room because it just so happened I went in labor the night of the pink full moon in 2021. Every single woman, and I mean, I live in a military base, so every single woman that was pregnant was in that hospital that night. You know, I had to sit in triage for 6 hours
Wow.
before I could even get put to a room. So he is sitting outside on pins and needles as well, worrying about not just the baby, but me as well. You know, so just because a man doesn't physically carry a child doesn't mean that he doesn't go through a series of emotions as well. That
Okay.
worry comes into play.
Okay.
um the concern, the wanting to see how he can be there, the vulnerability of not being able to do anything or protect because you just have to leave it up to God. You know, all that comes into play too. So I always tell women, just because you're pregnant and you physically carry that child doesn't mean you neglect his feelings and his emotions as well, because not only is your life going to change, his life's going to change too. And I even give that to relationships that are not on the best of terms. If you and your baby daddy beefing, he don't want to have nothing to do with you, he's not owning his child, it's because he's going through a series of emotions as well. But again, I can view that standpoint because again, I don't, not saying I'm not an emotional person, I am an emotional person,
Wow.
but I work more logical. I'm an Aquarius at the end of the day, and we're more logical
Yep.
thinkers than we are
Hard,
emotional.
hard thinkers too.
Hard thinkers
Yeah.
again.
And here's one question we just got message.
Okay.
Here's I'm not gonna mention this young lady's name, but
Oh yeah, that's
we
fine.
wanted to know, how did you know, or what signs were there that you knew he was the one to have a family with?
Um,
I guess what that's like what clues, or how you do your homework, or how do you, how do you know? What gave you the feeling to finally have a child, with this man?
that's a very good question. Now, how I have had several opportunities to sit down and have a baby with many of my other suitors.
Mhm.
I've even had a gentleman attempt to trap me at one point in time. What made this
God,
particular person different?
yeah.
Number one was timing, because I
Okay.
believe everything happens in divine timing.
Yep.
If you ask God for what you want, He's going to give it to you. The
Mhm.
difference is, but with this one, is I was very specific in my prayer. True
Okay.
story. This is no smoke and mirrors. I'm an open book. Y'all can ask me whatever you want to ask me, and I'm gonna answer you. um Prior to this relationship, I had been with someone on and off for 17 years. And when
Okay.
I say 17 years, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm just waiting at at bated breath for him to choose me. I was never a pick me.
Mhm.
Me and this person just had a bond that I felt like could never be matched, and it won't ever be matched, because every relationship and situation is different. People come into your life for a reason and a season, and they feed you in a specific way.
Mhm.
um I ended that 17-year relationship because it no longer fed me. Now, in that 17 years, I don't mean a consecutive long 17 years. I mean on and off 17 years. We might be on for a couple years. We might go away. I might do me. He might do him. We come back, kind of situation.
I'll need to stop you there for one second. Did y'all hear what she just said? On and off for 17 years, because a lot of you all will sometimes go on and off, and you might work out, but that a lot of you will just close the door as in, okay, this person is not going to grow, develop, or mature. But I mean, every situation is different. But 17 years is still a long time.
It is. It's a very long time. And I'm
I,
going to be
go
honest
ahead.
with you. I never realized it was 17 years until I stopped and counted, because what we were feeding each other was so good that time would move so
Yeah.
quickly that we didn't really contemplate that this had been 17 years. You know what I'm saying? But it had got to a point where we had fed each other to the point that we were full, and we were outgrowing each other. To this day, I can still pick up the phone and call that individual. Ironically enough, soul ties, and we can get in that later. But me
Yeah.
and that gentleman had a soul tie so much to the point that his twin boys are literally a month younger than my daughter.
What? What?
We both had his first set of offspring was a twin set of boys, and I had a daughter. The things that we both desired in our heart the most, we
I never
got
knew that.
at the same time. Yes. So
That's
again, Bruce, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother.
Hey, that next time we have on another show, yeah, feel
We'll talk
go ahead.
about that.
Because I
But
see that right there is where a lot of people can relate to you, because you got people who have been high school sweethearts forever, and then all of a sudden,
breaks are healthy.
yeah,
Breaks are healthy,
they
because
are.
as you are evolving and growing as a person, you
Yeah.
have to take the time to take some time away from you. And also, you can be stuck in a relationship for so long, even marriages, where you start to lose sight of who you are. I
Mhm.
remember my mama once telling me, as a child, she's like, I never want you to ever get so stuck in a relationship that you become Tabitha Ann. Nobody can know you as just Tabitha. You are always Tabitha Ann, or that person's wife. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? You have to still maintain your own identity. And as a woman, that was very important to me. But to get to the question that was asked, what made this relationship different than any of the other ones?
how'd you know it
How
was?
he saw me.
Mhm.
I met this person, which is my daughter's father and my lifetime companion. Because no, we are not married. And that's because of my choices. Because if I told him to go to the altar tomorrow, that Negro would be sitting there at midnight camping out like he waiting on Beyonce tickets. You know what I'm saying?
You
But
say a lifetime companion, is that right?
my lifetime companion,
There,
yes.
for those of y'all wondering what other title you must wear to feel important or to feel any kind of certain way, you can sometimes even, give a title to what matches and fits for you and your other
But
half.
what is a title?
Huh? Now,
But
because
what
some
is
people feel, because
some
some
people feel like they have to have a title. But my thing is,
men
what is
like,
a title? Because at the end of the day, the only title that's gonna go on your gravestone is the name that you was given.
there you go. See, but there's been men and women who get on me saying, well, they're waiting to be a husband, they're waiting to be a wife before they do this and that. I said, listen, I keep telling everybody, You have to find and apply what works for you.
Exactly.
We had Miss Wanda Short up here, the owner of Cheryl's, here in Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
We had her up here, and she was saying the same thing. Again, I'm not married, but she was the marriage advice she was getting, what she was doing, what worked for her and her husband for 40 plus years and still
You
count.
have to find what works for you. So, again, to answer the question, the person that is my lifetime partner saw me for me. And when I say saw me for me, I mean we could have conversations about things, and he was never on pins and needles about telling me what he really felt. If I said I feel like the sky should be blue, green, and orange, he's gonna be like, "Well, why do you feel like it's blue, green, and orange?" Well, it should be da da da. He's like, "Well, why can't it just be blue?"
Uh-huh.
You know what? You're right. He also was able to make me stop sometimes and check myself on my own flaws that I knew that I carry. We all carry certain flaws.
Oh yeah,
Some
we
of
all.
us mask them, some of us are not. I'm a very transparent person. I feel like I'm a person where I accept my flaws. If I do something wrong, I'm willing to always say I'm sorry and correct it, because I know that I'm a student at this thing called life. I'm not a master. The only master is the one that created me, and the one that I have to see when this time is over. So you're going to be a student of life, and life is and learning and knowledge is a lifelong situation. Even those last seconds before you die and you take your last breath, you're still learning something. So you can transition on to the next phase of what this energetic situation is supposed to be if you're going to heaven, hell, or if you're just going to float and haunt people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're still learning something. He made me reevaluate certain things. He also showed me a different way of doing things. Again, he comes from a different culture, different ideology of how things should be built and put together. And he allowed me to do it. He mentally challenged me. Again, I'm a logical thinker. If you can get in my mind, you got everything else. Not only that, he showed me his protection. He'll never notice, but he'll probably watch this and he'll think about it and he'll be like, okay, I remember that, but he didn't realize it was something because it was so small to him, but it
Yeah.
was big to me. I know one
Why,
day,
why big to you? Yeah.
yeah, I know one day we were headed, I want to say, to go get my oil changed or get a tire fixed on my car. And he, I followed him to that particular location. As we were turning off onto a main road, he saw the traffic that was coming, and he got in traffic and he maneuvered in a way where I could get in and still be able to follow him without another car getting in front of me. Very small, but the fact that you were protecting me even when I'm not literally within arm's reach.
Mm-hmm.
Check. Yeah, I'm gonna have this man baby. You know what I'm
So,
saying? It
so
was
you're
things
saying,
that he did that nobody else ever did that let me know. And not only that, prior to me getting ready to meet him, when I was leaving the 17-year relationship, I sat down with God and I had a very long talk. I prayed. And I didn't just say, God, give me a man that can have a child with and everything else. I was very detailed. I was descriptive of everything that I wanted and I desired. I was
how long?
also humble enough to understand that it was going to be a process and it was going to work. And whatever hard work I had to put into getting what I desired, I was willing to do. I also put into it that I trusted him, that I knew what was best for me more than I did myself.
Here's one
God
question I
showed
have,
me things through that process, and that's how I knew he was the one.
and this is why I want a lot of tuning in to go ahead and hear for yourself. How long would you say the process took? Because a lot of folks will give up or let go of too
I
soon.
had that prayer in July. I met him on Friday the 13th in September, that following September, literally
Say no.
July. And I'm gonna be honest with you, looking back, I had met him, I had seen him, we had physically been in space with each other, because I walked past him one day walking into the gym,
Okay.
and he saw me and I saw him. He told his friend, "Who is that? That's about to be my wife." And I laughed and
Testing
giggled,
out
didn't
loud.
pay no attention. And then September, we actually had a conversation.
Manifesting out loud, not being shy. That's why I tell people, a lot of people, including myself, and sometimes we won't even realize it. Manifesting out loud is one of the best ways of speak. It's a way also of speaking prayer, what I call, or
Hmm.
whatever you want to, affirmation, whatever you want to call it, out loud,
Hmm.
because there's always somebody around who's going to hold you accountable. And a lot of times, it's the people who are going to hold you accountable that you think ain't even paying you no mind. Sometimes it's a
Absolutely.
kid. Sometimes it's a kid.
Absolutely.
And you know how kids be listening to everything, man. and before you know it, they'll remind you of whatever you spoke in affirmation or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you spoke in existence or whatever you manifested. And I got like Tabitha just said, the smallest things you do, the smallest things you say make the big
Mm-hmm.
difference when it's all said and done. I don't care if it's you and just a child, you and a man, you and a woman, you and a whoever. It's
Yeah.
and she said it happened within a certain time frame, and that's another thing I get questions and comments and texts about is, hey, I've been 5 years, hey, I've been 6 months, I've been. Everybody's timing is different. You cannot compare your time with someone else's
Absolutely
time.
not.
It ain't gonna
My
happen.
my brother and his wife met, and in 90 days they were married and pregnant.
Hey,
They just celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary in August.
you know what? That right there.
So I'm a firm believer in what's meant to be is meant to be. You
Mm,
can't force what is yours to come sooner or later in life. When you took your first breath, every blessing was already orchestrated and ordained in your life. It's just a matter of you getting to when it's supposed to happen.
okay.
Now, there might be some times where people say, oh, well, you ain't doing something right, so God's not going to bless you. BS. God's going to bless you. But you have to be in a space to accept those blessings when they come.
Say that
Would I
say
have
that one
been
more time,
able,
man.
huh?
Say that one more time.
You, why you
Uh-huh.
gonna make me repeat something? You know, when it comes, when I'm downloaded, it comes out. You
Uh,
got to be prepared for those blessings when they come.
there you go.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, had I met, and we jokingly said, my daughter's father's younger than me. Also, I'm a cougar. I have no problem saying that.
How many years younger than you is he?
I went to the I went to preschool to pick up my baby daddy. Um, he's a sizable chunk. But he was old enough and he was legal. I put it see that
Okay.
way.
Hey, that and see that because a lot of people have that feeling with a
No,
man.
let me correct that. He was old enough. He was legal. He had his own place, his own car, and 4 jobs when we met.
See, and a lot of people try to follow tradition where the man always has to be the tallest, the oldest, make more money, all this stuff. And I'm like, just that alone is, again, not the average.
Not the average, no. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's benefits to having a younger spouse.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. Again, that's another conversation for
Yes.
another day.
Yes.
Um, but no, if I had met him when I was my OG hot girl self, this
Mm-hmm.
would have never happened. Um,
Okay.
I met him when I was supposed to meet him. Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. Now, in the 5 years that we have been together, has there been ups and downs or roller coasters, trials and tribulations? You're absolutely right. I sent him to the streets a couple times. Let them
Wow.
all have you. I don't want to be bothered with you. But that was because I was too busy being bullheaded in my own mind. He was too busy being emotional. See, he's a Pisces, I'm an Aquarius. I'm logical, he's emotional. We had to find our rhythm together.
Mm-hmm.
Once we
How long would you say that took for you all to find you guys' rhythm together? Because a lot of folks, again, they throw in the towel after the first bad argument.
It was a combination of two things in that process of us having our issues. It was the fact that when we started off, it was just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
We could do everything else. I could shower him with the world. He could shower me with the world. Now we're pregnant. It's we're having a baby. Let's take all the pictures. Let's do the baby shower. Let's do all the fun, cute stuff. Kind of
Yep.
the same thing people do when it's time to get married. Let's plan
Mm-hmm.
the wedding, all the cute stuff. Now enters the child, where
Yep.
now I don't have the time to come home and cook dinner in lingerie. I don't have the time to sit here when you're sick and try to nurse you back to health and indulge you. Or now I've been up with a screaming sick baby all day and all night, and you want to have, grown up mommy and daddy time, and I'm
Right.
too tired.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Those things were contributing factors that started to chip away at our bond, which also, became arguments, became issues. You know what I'm saying? Certain insecurities. Now that I got a baby, certain ex-boyfriends are popping up on social media trying to be in my DMs to say congratulations, and they sneakily trying to figure out, what's up with you and your baby daddy. Because we have an open relationship, he sees this stuff. Now he's starting to feel insecure because he's like, this dude you was with for 17 years is all in your DMs. Why you just might not leave me to go be with him? We had those things like any other couple.
Yeah. So you
We
know what?
had those.
You touched on the same thing Miss Short touched on last week when she talked about once the baby comes, a lot of the intimate things may have to be put on hold or sometimes even come to a stop for a period of time because it's
Yeah.
not about the husband, wife, or the two parents now. It's about the child.
Now
Yeah.
here's another thing I'm gonna toss in there, because again, a lot of people want to get biblical. In the Bible, it says that a wife is supposed to cleave unto her husband, right? He's supposed to be the head of household. He's supposed to come before the children. He believes that. I don't. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna fight anybody and everybody. I love God. He gave my child to me, but if he come down here threatening my kid, me and him might have to knuckle up as well, because that's the type of mother I am. My children come first, always and forever, because man will eventually disappoint you.
Yeah.
We had to work through those differences. And yes, they got very fiery. Yes, they got very difficult. Yes, they tested the relationship. However, we got to a point where we had to evaluate life without you and life without me. Forget we got a kid, because I can put you on child support, go left, and me and her can never ever know you.
Yep. Yep.
We didn't want that. What was in the best interest for our child? What was in the best interest for us? And what would be in the best interest for us to move forward in a healthy manner that was always going to be resolution based? Because when you truly, truly love somebody unconditionally,
Yep.
everything can be worked out. It
That's
don't mean we're not gonna have a fight. It's just like the Bible says, weapons will form, but they shall not prosper. In a relationship, you're gonna have those moments where y'all gonna have knockdown, drag out fights. As long as it doesn't get physical, and as long as it doesn't get too toxic where it's going to harm you, the children, or others around you. At that aspect, we need to evaluate it, and we might have to go in our separate ways. But we were able to work that out. Now we're the best of friends. He come over to see the
it.
baby. We, when he's not around, and he comes in town, in and out of town. If he's got to be out of town with certain things, he gets home. Hey, what you want? I'm bringing you and the baby some chocolate cake from Nothing But Cakes. We have family time. We have dinners. We do everything. We enjoy each other. We have fun.
Here's one of the questions we got from this guy named Anthony. And
Okay.
some of our followers, appreciate Anthony. His question is, do you feel that the arguing and well, I'm just going to some of the. He says, do you feel the arguing or disagreeing you and your baby daddy had helped you guys to become the strong couple you are now? So
Yes.
he's talking about just like struggling, arguing, fussing. Do you feel that is a factor in why you guys?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Because if you're gonna be with someone, whether you're married, you're a lifelong companion, or anything, I think it's very important for you to see that person in every shape and form that they possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
He knows my boundaries now. He clearly understands, not knows. He clearly understands my boundaries now, just like I clearly understand his boundaries now. We
Okay.
were not communicating effectively
Oh,
when we were arguing, because it was, these are my feelings, these are my emotions, and I need you to understand. These are my feelings and these are my emotions, I need you to understand. No, you're not listening. We were too busy listening to respond and hurt each other,
mm,
because we were hurt ourselves in the process, because a child is a huge change.
I
You know
bet.
what I'm saying? Not only that, it was also the circumstances. We're doing this through COVID. I didn't realize it, but I was dealing with resentment because he couldn't be there. And in my mind, you're supposed to fight and be here with me. Well, realistically, if they say no, you can't. You know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
was having unrealistic expectations of what I felt like he should do for me. Or if I came home and I bought a sonogram picture and he wasn't as excited as I thought he should be excited, because this baby meant something different for me than it did for him. You know what I'm saying? So we had to learn through our arguing, because again, I do believe that a certain level of conflict is healthy, because it exposes people's representatives. Because a
I,
lot of time we're taught that this is how you're supposed to navigate certain situations,
yep. There you go. There you go.
but when you and your person are together, it's unique. Everybody has read Cinderella, Snow White,
Beauty and the Beast and all
Sleeping
this.
Beauty and Beauty and Beast, and we know how that all works out, right? It's a cookie cutter format of what we think life and relationships is supposed to be. We
Yep.
watched the Huxtables. Everybody that grew up in my era, it was Claire and Mr. Huxtable as the iconic Black family. But one thing they never showed
All
is
them.
they never showed behind them doors when Claire and Heathcliff got in there and they got at each other.
Yep. Yeah, what's it called?
So
The rehearsal of it. Yeah.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in it with somebody and you recognize that it's just as unconditional for them as it is for you, yeah, y'all gonna argue. And that was healthy because again, we learned each other's boundaries. I knew what buttons to push that would make him react a certain way. And from that, I saw certain reactions. And then again, as a logical thinker, I'm also a person that's huge on accountability. I had to take accountability, which a lot of grown folks don't have. I took accountability of my contribution because it takes two to tango. It took two of us to get this baby here. It's going to take two of us to resolve these issues, and it's going to take two of us to move forward in a healthier way where we don't have to revisit these problems anymore. We learned our lesson, because when you learn your lesson in life, then you can receive the reward, which is the blessings. So we said, all right, boom. What are we gonna do so we can be happy? Because I'm like, yo, I'm imagining taking the baby to the amusement parks and doing these different things and having these type of memories, but I'm not gonna sit here and be mad at you on the other side of it. Like, you here for her. The other part of it too was our child. Our daughter has a very, very old, rich spirit. I often jokingly say that I gave birth to an ancestor, one of our ancestors, because she is wise beyond her years for her age.
When she started walking?
Huh?
At what age did she start walking? 8 months, 10 months, or anything like that?
No, she started walking 2 weeks after her first birthday.
Okay.
2 weeks after her first birthday. However, her first word was happy. She was singing at 2 weeks. She was speaking at 7 or 8 months. And I'm talking about more than like Goo Goo Gaga, Mama Dada, like Mama Dada, milk, bottle, nap, eat.
She tried to show y'all something, man.
Yeah. Mentally, my child, I'm just telling y'all, stay tuned, because in the next 18 years, she gonna be something major. But for her, one thing that I always paid attention to her is family. Mommy, I love my family. I love my family. I love my family. I love my family. And that was a big word that was going around. And one day me and her father was sitting in the living room and she was playing and she just, Mommy, I love my family. And me and him kind of pulled back. And I was like, did you peep that? And she's like, I peeped that. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm like, all right, this is what our daughter wants. She wants a family. How do we define family? Okay. Because there's certain things that you don't want that I don't want. There's certain things that we can agree upon. There's certain things that we can't agree upon. What's going to make this thing work for us? So we sat down and we literally pen to paper, started building the blueprint of what our family was going to be. And from that, we started to clean up. First of all, we cleaned up the shit between us. Excuse my language. Then we started to clean up the shit with everybody else around us, because if our village is going to be on page with us to move forward to make sure that this child has the best upbringing possible, then any ill will, because just like any family, if I'm beefing with him, I go home, my mama hear me cry, my brothers, you know what I'm saying, they get protective. Everybody got to be on the same page. So with us trying to be resolution based instead of who's right and who's wrong, we were able to quickly resolve a lot of things and get to a point of harmony and happiness. And that's where we are now.
So here's one question I had for our last guest. I also wanted to ask you, which of these factors would you say was the biggest or the main factor? Would you feel it was the loyalty, the love, the communication, or respect you all had for each other before and after the daughter came?
I'm gonna say respect first and communication second. You can fall in and out of love with somebody all day, every day. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you really sat down and asked your grandma that was married to your granddaddy for 50 plus years, was she in love with him all 50 of them years? If she's gonna be honest with herself and honest with you, she's gonna tell you hell no. She might have gone 10, 15 years loving that man, another 5 can't stand in him, and the last 3 her waking up every morning hoping he dead so she can be free.
That sounds about right. Unless it was, that's why.
Loyalty is something that grows. It's like trust. It can go and come. I might feel like you loyal today because you're doing everything I like, and then the moment that you do something that I don't like, because 9 times out of 10 I'm being selfish, and you choosing to go the other way, it can be broken. But who's to say that a married couple who believes in their vows and the doctrine that they got under, if your spouse goes astray, he just broke the love, he just broke the loyalty, he just disrespected you, And he's not communicating, because if he was, he wouldn't have went outside and been with somebody else, or vice versa. She wouldn't have went outside and been with somebody else. But you choose to stay together. It's a daily day choice. You chose to stay with each other. You chose to work. So you rebuild that love. You rebuild that respect, rebuild that loyalty, and so forth.
Sometimes you got to earn it too. And
You got to earn it. Yeah.
This is one thing I feel like a lot of people, I mean, who again, they stop and call and text and message me. I feel like a lot of you all are trying to hold on to an old typewriter ways of getting the message out, typing, versus a touchscreen millennium that we live in. And I don't feel many of you all are evolving with the way society is and the way the people are living now. Because don't forget, back in the days I told our last guest, and she agreed. Back when our grandparents and our parents, for those of y'all who are 40 plus, when our parents were married, 30, 40, 50 plus years, whatever, they did not have social media. They didn't have all the options and distractions that we have now. Now, some of those distractions play their role, but at the same time, that's one of the main things I have. That again, talking to the people of this new generation who are, still not married, or some are married, but they're still making it work. They're co-parenting. I know people personally who say, hey, you know what? The baby mom and the father not working, but 1 week on, 1 week off is the way they raise their kids, and it works. Yeah. You have, once again, everybody tuning in. You have to find what works for you. And the biggest thing I heard Tabitha say was the daughter is what made them finally come to grow, develop, mature to a certain point where they sat down, they respect one another, and they communicate how this family was going to work for them. Okay, exactly. They didn't care what mom said. They didn't care what friends and family said. They didn't care what social media got to say. They again sat down. I didn't know this till right now. We didn't rehearse this now.
No, this is all. Yeah, Bruce has no clue about this. And I'll even go ahead and I'll take it a step further. What you just said, we sat down and we discussed what would be in the best interest of our child, what we felt like was going to help her flourish and be the best her she can be. We could have talked about getting married. We did, in fact. And that's like I told him, it would be a disservice to our child for us to force something that one or the other doesn't really want. For me, and this is me personally, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to be married because I wanted a kid. Because I was raised Southern Baptist. You got to be married before you have a child. Don't have no child out of wedlock.
Same here.
And I'm going to tell you why I had a child without wedlock. Because again, when you hear the child without wedlock, a lot of times it's not so much God, because let's keep it a buck. We all do sins every single day that just slaps God in the face. He's not tangible. He's not visible. Not like our mamas, our grandmamas, our daddies, the people that we can see eye to eye and see their disappointment. The biggest person in my life that I wanted to uphold that value for was my grandmother. My grandmother was 80 years old at the time, and I was in my early 30s, and I asked her, I said, Grandma, I said, this dating pool is getting real bad. And that was before this current dating pool, which is sewage water at this point in time. But I said, it's getting real bad. And I said, I'm getting, older and everything. And my biological clock is ticking. And I don't want that window of opportunity for me to have a child to get closed for the simple fact that I'm waiting to be married. And my grandmother was a mother of an AME Zion church. Okay. You can't get more Christian than that. I'm talking about still wearing white, getting your feet washed through your pantyhose on first Sunday type of AME Zion. And she told me face to face, and my grandma was one of the realest females I ever met in my life. Okay. She told me face to face, she said, baby, God gave you the ability to give life. If that is something that is important to you, and you haven't found the person to marry and become a wife to in order for that to happen, she said, then you take it upon yourself to make your dream and your destiny come true. I was shocked as hell, because my grandmother was never the type of person would say it. She was very much, y'all can't sleep in my house if you're not married. You better go get a hotel room. She can stay here. And you as a man, my brothers and my cousins and stuff, y'all can go over there, whatever. You can sleep over here in the room with me, and she can sleep down there. But y'all know she was that type of old Christian Southern values. But when she told me that, I said, dang. And then I sat back and thought about it. I said, okay, cool. Well, if I can't find a man, I'll go and I'll do what I was going to have a designer baby. Me and Bruce talked about this a lot of time. I was going to go go pick it out of the sperm bank, have my own kid. Because again, at the end of the day, why should I, off of a principle that someone else told me was right for my life, why should I, forbid myself that opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened the year that I had marked for myself, if I don't have a kid by this particular year and date, you know how everybody, when you're in school, if we not married by the time we 35 and you single and I'm single, we gonna get married. It was the same kind of thing, but it was more for me. If I don't have a child by this point in time, or I'm not in a committed relationship to get married to do said thing, then I'm gonna go have a designer baby.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes the prayer. Here comes the man. COVID hits. Life shuts down. What's it gonna take for you to have a kid? The world gonna have to stop, son. The world stop. And he's like, I'm gonna do it. It's not gonna happen.
Going
30
back to
days later, here we go.
Going back to manifesting, going back to speaking in existence, going back to, again, speaking, being the power of the tongue. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then a lot, even me, like I was brought up in a 2-parent household, and so to me,
so was I.
Huh? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so I'm just, what was he? Was the father also brought up in a 2-parent household?
Yeah.
See, and I don't know why, but for some reason, I'm not sure if it's the law of attraction or what the hell it is, but that's where the 2 parenting seem to blend, mesh, and come together the most is when it comes to understanding each other on a family, more of a family point of view, and not as selfish as, I'm not saying that, single parents can't raise, a single.
But here's the thing with that: just because you come from a 2-parent household doesn't mean you weren't raised by a single mother. You can still be married and be a single mother. Just because you share someone's last name and they sleep in the bed next to you does not mean that they are contributing their part to raising that child. Because there is a lot of children that came up with married mothers and fathers that were raised by their mothers because their daddy was too busy outdoing them. Or vice versa. Mama was too busy outdoing her. You get what I'm saying? So again, we can sit here all day. And again, this is being logical and not emotional and slightly non-traditional. But we can sit here all day and we can say, oh, you've got to be married to have a child. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. You know how many people, and I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, and I mean this sincerely with love and grace. But do you know how many of our classmates that I watch on Facebook parade their spouses or parade when they get married? We gonna be together forever. I got a ring. You know how many engagement rings I got sitting in that box over there, Bruce? Several. Okay. Oh, we about to get married. We about to do this, then the third. You know what I'm saying? I know a classmate that literally paid for her entire damn wedding.
Wow.
Only to get divorced. Only for that person to be the thorn in their spine. Now they got kids. I see girls all the time. I ain't trying to cut you off, Bruce. I'm on the soapbox. I'm sorry. I see people all the time. Oh, I'd rather be an ex-wife with alimony than a baby mama. I said the same shit before I had my daughter, and I had several opportunities to be one. But then I realized when you are standing on the other side of this phone, when you are sitting across from someone else as they're sharing their story, and you're in a place of judgment, or she could have done this, or she could have done that. We're so quick not to realize that our situation might be 5 seconds from being where that is, or you're still accepting stuff and pretending to turn a blind eye when all the flags over there are bloody red. They so red, they orange like the sun. You know what I'm saying? So you have to find what works for you and damn the rest and their opinion. Because at the end of the day, opinions don't pay.
There you go. And here's one thing else I noticed, and this is not the case for everybody. It's just for me. I noticed the weddings that cost the most are normally, not every time, but normally the ones that last the shortest period of time.
My first degree is in fashion marketing. And what I did with that degree once I graduated from college at 21 is I went into wedding planning, and I was a huge wedding planner, and I did marketing for David's Bridal. Okay. That was in the early 2000s. I did multiple $1 million weddings, $1 million bridal events. David Totero, I think, was the big name at the time. He had a TV show on TLC or something like that. Did certain things with him. Beautiful, elaborate, gorgeous events. Most of those marriages max 5 years. And then there were the people who hired me to simply just get everything together for them for justice of the peace marriages. Those marriages, they still hit me up on Facebook, are 20, 30 plus years strong.
Okay.
Um,
That's crazy. It's reality though, man. It's just reality.
it
And
is.
I,
And the biggest lesson I took from that was pomp and circumstance is
mm,
for everyone else's stamp of approval and validation. When you are spending so much time worried about how things are going to look for other people's gaze, you're
mhm.
not focused on what you really need to be paying attention to. And that is what gets lost. Because, I mean, it's just like when funerals happen.
Yep.
Everybody's there for you. My condolences. Oh, I'm so heartbroken. They show up. People you ain't seen before show up to the funeral. They're there for you. But when the dust settles 2 weeks later, where they at?
Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. And it's like,
So these big celebratory things that we are all taught we're supposed to do,
mhm.
man, miss me with that.
And you know what? That's why I had to go ahead and invite you here. And I'm glad you came because a lot of the questions, a lot of things you've been saying and stories you've been, sharing. Again, from a man, I can't share that. From being a parent, I can't share that. But as far as like the love life, yeah. But I mean, there's so many. And this story here, just like the last guest we had on, everybody's situation is different. But when they
Yeah.
hear what you have to say, again, this ain't rehearsed. This is her, telling us parts of her life story that hopefully y'all can relate to. That I ask her to speak on because it's like, hey, I love kids to death. They're the most, they're the best blessing in the world to me. I don't have one, but and they are that, and then they are. And to me, the thing I love about kids the most, and I'll keep saying this, and feel free to prove me wrong, and I'll pay your mortgage the rest of your lifetime. Kids are especially toddlers. They
Mhm.
have the least amount. I'm saying they have the best amount of positive energy and no negativity energy in their system.
Because they have not
The
been
exposure. Yeah.
groomed in
Yeah.
that aspect. Everything in life is taught. Who you
Mhm.
are today is based off of things that you taught. When you become adult, you have the opportunity to open your mind and expand things. For example, when I moved back from Atlanta to North Carolina, I was working a job in the hospital, and one of the patient transport guys were having a conversation one day, and I was like, "Yeah, something about Cheddar Bay biscuits." I was craving Cheddar Bay biscuits from Red Lobster.
They good too.
This man was 25 years old and he looked at me and he was like, I ain't never ate at Red Lobster. Blew my mind.
Wow.
But then I had to step back and I had to say, well, why haven't you never gone? What was the reason? Because to me, Red Lobster, we was doing that for my birthday at 12. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
Or that might have been a lot of people's high school when they went to prom
Problem.
for their junior. You know what I'm saying? You took somebody to Red Lobster. I mean, that was back in our day. Of course, they got other things now that's a lot better that kids have access to now. But I
Yeah.
had to step back for a moment and not be in a place of judgment and figure out why something so simple and insignificant to me hadn't been anything that he'd done at that point in age, and for him would have been impactful. And we had a conversation. I got the ability to learn. He fed into me things about his life and
Mhm.
different things that I could, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Having an open mind and not being blinded by certain things to educate myself, check myself, reevaluate myself on certain things, you know what I'm saying, was what that experience was about for me. Um, but yeah, people just have to be open-minded and figure out what works best for them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just even like even in your love life. And I want to say this, I'm not against being married by any reason, shape, or form. I'm also realistic in the aspect that marriage right now, if I got married, if me and her father got married, it would fail immediately because of what my responsibilities are. Not only am I a mother, I'm also responsible for taking care of my aging parents that are in their 70s, one of which is has dementia and Parkinson disease. You know what I'm saying? That's a grown adult child that I have to take care of. Another parent who is a cancer survivor, you know what I'm saying, that's heavily diabetic. When I get off work every day, I have to also go and take care of my parents, make sure they got what they need and everything else of that aspect. And then I also have to be able to spend time with my child. By the time I get into bed, I know for a fact I don't have enough time for me to, you know, reflect on me. I'm definitely not gonna have it for him. So it's a disadvantage for us to be that serious and in that type of union.
Mhm. And
because it's not fair to him and it's not fair to me. And then we're going to have that resulting argumentative tailspin that's going to reflect on our child. And we both know that we don't want to grow up in a household, have our child grow up in a household where she has such negativity that she's going to have to go and get therapy for when she get 21, 22 years old.
that's one thing. That's one thing I touched on. Tabitha was I think it was about 3 or 4 shows ago when I
Mm-hmm.
was people. I'm like, listen. I mean, yeah, we all wish to live the American dream. Get married. I mean, go to school, get good grades. Go work with good benefits. Get married, get a house, all that stuff. However, times are shifting. So I was going to ask this question here. How long would you say? Not really. How long would you say that? Is there anything in marriage do you think can or cannot happen in just a committed relationship? Because we're starting to see a lot of that too. Like, where is it besides
So
tax?
here's the thing about marriage. Marriage itself, based on what the biblical definition of marriage is,
Mhm.
based on the old Southern values of what marriage is supposed to be, is
Yep.
something that is very obsolete in this day and time.
Okay.
Marriage now, for a lot of people, is a piece of paper of ownership.
Yep. Yep.
And if you can't, or once that ring gets on the finger
Mm-hmm.
and everybody goes away after that big party, aka the marriage and the reception,
Yeah.
people change. They feel like, oh, now I got you.
Mm-hmm.
See, men are hunters by nature, and
Yep.
women are nurturers by nature,
Mm-hmm.
statistically. Once a man has finished his hunt and he has deemed his reward, what is there to chase after anymore? Some women are nurturers by nature. Once we have become a wife and now that we're a mother, what do I need a man for? So you start to walk away from what you did to keep them. My mama used to tell me all the time, you got to start out like you can hold out. If you are starting out here knowing, hold on, there we go. If you were starting out here knowing that your real ability to perform is down here, when you get married, that person is still waiting for this. You ain't doing it no more because now you feel like, oh, I got you. You can't go nowhere. Well, let me tell you something. They can't. It's really expensive to tear that piece of paper up. Like I tell you all the time, I work in auto insurance. By law, and here's a little bit of auto insurance information for you. By law, if you are married, your spouse has to be on your auto policy. Now,
What?
young people call in every day, oh, this is my wife. And I ask them, are you legally married? Because here's the thing, if you tell me that's your spouse and I add them onto your policy and you're not married, you have to present a signed decree of divorce and dissolvement of marriage before we can remove them off of your policy.
Wow. Wow.
I
Oh,
say
hold
that,
on that, man. Shoot,
yeah, I say that to say this. Everything can be dissolved.
mm-hmm.
Now, if you not legally married and you got to get your girlfriend off, then that means that you got to cancel this policy, go through the process, pay what you owe on that particular policy. If there's anything that's owed to the company, then you got to go into the sales department now and write a whole new policy altogether and spend out money. You done spent out money either way, right? For a piece of paper. You can still navigate life in that same aspect. In America, you can be married to one person, right?
Yep.
Well, what if you're
Oh,
Muslim?
by law.
By law. But what if you're Muslim?
I honestly don't know their religion or their culture that well, so I can't.
Muslims can have multiple wives.
Yeah, I heard it was going up to. Is it up to 7 or 5? I forgot, but I don't
They
know.
can have I don't know if there's a cap on it now,
Oh,
but I mean,
okay.
they can have as many as they want. Does that mean that those multiple wives and that man does not make a situation that works well for them within their marriage?
No.
Polygamous, right? Let's touch on polygamy and polyandry and all those different forms of the plus section of the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
Do they not have a happy home and situation? Now, I want everybody to be adults and let's get out of the whole multiple people having sex and orgies aspect and think about that village idea of it. There's multiple people. Say, for example, I just gave birth to a child and it was a very difficult birth and I can't be there to take care of my baby. My sister wife can help take care of this child, right? If I can't get off work to go pick up my child that's sick, but my sister wife can, or my brother husband can, does that not make our situation work? In this current economy setup and situation, it's really expensive to be an individual single person taking care of stuff. But then you have multiple people and family members that come in and move into your house and y'all all share the bills. I got people on policies together all day long trying to figure out how we split this bill type situation. But
Yep.
does that not make everything move in a more forward direction?
Yeah. Yeah. And
I say all that to say this: open your mind to understand that some situations and some families don't have to be a one-on-one situation. Say you both are divorcees, right?
Yep.
You got kids, you get remarried and y'all have a child. Now you have to build a family situation where multiple people can parent this child to make sure this child has the best situation, or there's multiple children involved. You know what I'm saying? You might be a widower
and
and
that,
you remarry.
yeah. Just in closing, man, because we actually went over a little bit of time, but it's all.
Oh, so sorry.
All I know is it's all good. I hope a lot of y'all got y'all questions answered, because one thing Ms. Coleman has kept it real with y'all is about once you have a child, it is more about the child than it is about the damn self.
100%.
Okay, and for those of y'all who tune in, we appreciate it, man, because this is still chaos conversation, and these relationships we'll be talking about. I know y'all hear from married couples. I know y'all hear from people who co-parent, people who are single. I know y'all hear from all those speaking from their experiences. Y'all be getting on me about, oh, I ain't there yet. I'm like, all right, trust me, I'm patient. What the hell I am, and trust me, I be hearing a lot of what my friends go through, and all I do is better myself while I'm patient. Okay, because I've learned to, like Tabitha said, I've learned to seize the moment, and the moment to me is God's time. I don't know how else to tell y'all. A lot of y'all rush stuff because your friends, your family, your brothers and sisters, siblings are having kids and getting married. You want to keep up with them. I'm just letting y'all know that ain't always the way to go. But once again, chaos conversation. And Tabitha, I want to say we do appreciate you coming on. We love it. We love it. Hopefully we have you on again and get some more knowledge of these, folks.
Yeah, I would love to have me back.
We'll do. Once again, just like, subscribe, comment, and feel free to share. Again, chaos conversation, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.